recording. All right. So very similar to plan sheets, and I'm going to go through plan and profile because profiles you would create basically the same way you would with the plan sheet, except the one difference that you have with profiles and plan and profile is that name boundary has to reside in that plan production. It doesn't mean that you can't reference in those name boundaries into other groups, but normally for plan and profile, you're just going to have roadway because drainage is a different scenario with profile runs and how those are created. That's a different session. But from a roadway standpoint, if you're doing plan and profile or profiles, those name boundaries have to be within that plan production. It doesn't recognize it as a reference because of the profile being in its own view. So I'm going to go over that real quick. So again, the same references that Schwab was utilizing as well. I have my geometry. I have all of my other plan production information in there. The one thing I have in here is I have my train existing file that's in here because I have to have it in here for my profile so that I can view my profile. So without hesitation, I'm going to go to this real quick. So I'm going to go to name boundaries. I usually like having this up as I'm going through identifying information so I can just kind of see it populate. So I'm going to come to name boundaries here. And again, so here's civil plan. Here's element by element, profile sections. If I want to cut a cross section 2 points, I can use that. Other elements, different things. Right now we're concentrating on profile, or on plan view. So I need to do a plan view first in order to do my profiles. The reason I want to do that is because in this essence for a plan and profile, I got to have both. So I want a named group that I'm going to have. So I'm going to just do on this one, I'm going to pick plan and profile for plan. You can see the detail scale. I'm going to put it at 50. I'm going to do the same thing that Mike did. The one thing to make sure of is you're going to want to have a group, but before you name it, you want to go ahead and, as Mike was saying, follow through the prompt. So the first thing I want to do is I want to identify my element. So I'm going to identify my element. It gives me a name. It gives me that group name. So I'm going to do a start and a stop at the end. I'm going to change this because we know from before we want to start it at 28. We want a little bit ahead. So, and I'm just going to name this one, this group, I'm just going to name that. And then the plans, again, I'm just going to put station. And then that way, when I go to edit, I can edit a little bit differently as it comes through. So that way I can just copy and paste those things down. So as I go through this, I've picked my plan of what I want to pick. Again, I'm not going to go through all these as Mike went through these, but you can see the left and the right offset. When Mike did his, it was 200 feet to the left, 200 feet to the right. That was because it's a whole plan view. This recognizes that it's a plan and profile. I can't fit 200 feet plus a profile. So I've got to chop my window down. So as I walk through the prompt, so you can see now it's placed what I need for those plan views. So you can also see, well, does it really cover everything? Maybe I want to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go ahead and say 80 and put it at 80 feet to just cover a little bit more. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to reduce this one down to 70. So maybe it's offset a little bit. I can adjust those as I want. Here's the boundary chords that we were talking about earlier of inserting vertexes, different things. The boundary chords it has is 1 as a default. Well, you have a sheet, so you're going to have 4 chords. You're going to have 4 points. So that's really your default. You can change this as you need to. If you are on a curve, I would recommend probably doing like 10 because you can always delete and insert vertexes. So I'm just going to walk through the prompts. I'm going to go through and create these now as name boundaries. So as you can see in my name boundary, I now have a name boundary. I have my station. So in here, like Mike said, and I'm not going to go through the process right now, but when you set it up, changing all of those different elements so that they all match up, I have my plan view. I'm good to go. So I know what stations I'm at. So now I've created my plan view. So I have my plan view for my plan profiles. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go ahead and create my profile views. So you can see, so profile views, I'm going to change this to plan and profile, the same one that I had before, but you can see it says profile instead of plan. So I'm going to pick that. Oops. I'm going to pick that. And I'm going to change it to 1 to 50 to match up. And you can see I'm either given the station limits, so I can create my own stations, but I wouldn't recommend it because if I do my plan group, it already knows all those stations. It knows what it's supposed to cut from. It's going to match all of those things up. So that's the importance of that named group. So you can see it says untitled. This says profile 1. The next thing I want to do is it asked to identify my profile. So I'm going to identify my profile. So I get that information. I want to change my name of profile. Again, I'm going to do station that. My profile group is the same. Ute Avenue there. I'm going to do a new group here. I'm just going to call it UDAV Pro, so it's my profile. I have a vertical exaggeration, all the information that I want through here. For some reason, why is it? I'm going to redo that real quick because it should show up with the. Item profile. Sorry. Doing some weird things. 150. Profile view. There we go. From group. Okay. Two other things to make sure of too is use terrains and use active vertical are checked on. If those are not checked on, it won't cut your profile correctly because it doesn't know where you are in space and it won't actually cut your profiles correctly. So I'm going to keep walking through the prompts and now I have my profile views. So now that I have my profile views and my plan views, I should have both in here. So now I can create, you can see a plan view if I wanted to. If I go to my profile groups, though, now I can do a profile drawing or I can do plan and profile drawing. Same thing with Ute Avenue, create plan and profile drawings. So here's my linked profile groups in here. Again, if for me to create those, I have to make sure these two buttons are checked. So here's my create plan and profile, plan view, or profile view. So I am going to go to Ute Avenue. I am going to go to create plan and profile view. And there it is. All right. So this dialog box looks a little bit different. This has me set up for plan and profile. So it's saying, okay, here's my plan view, here's my profile view. And you can see plan profile. Again, everything's set, but I want to make sure that I'm at 1 to 50, 1 to 50 on this. My profile grid spacing, I can change that if I want to. I want to do every 50 feet, so I'm going to change it to that. Same thing, I can still have my north arrow, bar scale match lines. I'm going to leave it at that. So you can see this gives me a drawing model names, what it's planning on doing, my full size 1-to-1. Can hit OK. It should go through and start processing and giving me plan and profile views. All right. So similarly to what Schwab said prior, my first sheet. So here's my first sheet. Here's my second. So again, it's gonna, right now it's just the cell. So again, we'd have to bring in the border, do all those different things. But you can see all with my text, I can update these things in my drawing model. Again, that's what these are being referenced from. So if I go to my drawing model in here, that's my plan. I can go to that same drawing model. There's my profile view. This is where I can manipulate my stationing and do that information. Again, I'm not going to see the stationing. I did annotate that. So the annotation shows up. I'm good to go on everything there. The referencing for these, you can see what it does is Bentley defaults at 99. Well, I don't really want 99 for a default. I want it at 2 because that's my drawing model, and my sheet model I want at 3. Those will also be defined as well for everyone in those plan production and containers and all of those different elements too, of how far to take different model spaces on nested depths. So those are some of the things that we'll be working on as well with some of the workspace. Same thing here. We don't really want 99. We would rather have 3 as the max. So I'm going to change those and update those to 3. You can see it doesn't change anything, but as soon as if I change that to 2, my container disappears. The reason is because of the live nesting depths that we started with. So I want to keep those at 3. Some people say that doesn't matter of the 99. It does still worry me though that it's bringing more along than it should. But again, so this was the plan profile. There's also option for plan profile super if you have the super with it, for all of those different information. But this is plan and profile. And again, just to kind of save on some time to get through things, the profile itself is very similar to a plan. You just have to be in the file and utilize those profile model name boundaries to create your sheet. So very, very similar to a plan. The only thing is I just would do a profile view single, or if I had a double profile, we have those options to do that. And I think really that probably covers that, Sahar, as far as creating plan profile sheet.